Hello, thank you so much for being part of this interview series. It's so exciting to have you here. Would you mind starting immediately with the introduction of the two of you as a starting point?
Hello, I'm Regina and this is Philip, and we are making games together.
Yeah, we're called Microbird. We're working on our first project. The two of us have been working together for 5 years at different companies. The last two were, the two companies we worked at were Social Spiel and Iron Mountain Interactive. And Iron Mountain Interactive went insolvent late last year. And so this year, the two of us decided we're going to try something smaller and something by ourselves. And here we are.
Cool. Cool. Before we talk a little about your new studio, I would love to hear a little bit about the backgrounds of the two of you, like your personal history, where you're coming from. This would be interesting.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I initially studied in Salzburg. I studied graphic design first, and then went to the FH in Salzburg and studied 3D and animation. So I'm an artist. And yeah, after that, I went on to work in the video games industry. I went to Germany first and worked in Frankfurt for like a year. Yeah, a bit more than a year. And then I came to Vienna and, like you mentioned, joined Social Spiel, and after that Iron Mountain. And I've also done some freelancing work or short contract work in between in Vienna. So basically I've worked on everything from like AAA games to mobile games, a lot of action RPGs, but also some VR games in between. So very, very wide range of games that I'm specialized as a 3D artist, but I also do some 2D stuff and a bit of light concept art. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm from Graz. I originally studied media design, information design at FIU Neum. So started out as a designer of sorts, but then quickly gravitated towards programming. I've been working on games for about 15 years now. For quite a while, in the heyday of Flash games, I had a little startup that operated in that space, then did some mobile games, then worked on an indie game on my own for around 2 years, and then started working at bigger, by Austrian standards, studios, namely Social Spiel and Iron Mountain. So I've mostly been programming in the past few years, but also had a game design position, was a writer for a year at Social Spiel, and most recently was creative director at Iron Mountain.
Cool. And now, of course, we need to know everything about your studio. Congrats to founding it. That's really like relatively fresh, right?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, we founded it in August this year. Yeah.
Wow. So we would love to hear everything.
Well, like Philip said, we were used already to working together, and we had this thought of maybe doing something more of our own in a smaller frame for a while. And yeah, after Iron Mountain, it was a good point in time, a good opportunity for us to get a new focus. And we initially did a lot of brainstorming and came up with an idea and basically founded our company around a project idea, I would say. And yeah, for now it's just the two of us who are working on a prototype, but we are planning to, like the project we are doing is not so small, so we are planning to also hire a few people, probably during next year, and maybe become like 4 or 5, 6 people.
Yeah, somewhere around that.
And yeah, so we are focused on one project. Our company is working on Dungeons of Hinterberg, our current game. And yeah, our general plan is to work on let's say, curated indie experiences that have a bit of a narrative focus and its own voice. And yeah, we want to go in this direction.
Dungeons of Hinterberg. I mean, I already saw some screenshots online, and it looks just fantastic. What can you tell us about this game?
So Dungeons of Hinterberg is a mix between action RPG, Zelda-like, social simulation like. It's set in a modern-day Austrian village where tourists come from all over the world, not to ski or hike, but to complete the nearby magical dungeons that are full of alpine mythical creatures and other monsters. So about half of the game is spent exploring the surroundings of Hinterberg, finding dungeons, gaining entrance to the dungeons, and the other half is spent in the village where you get to know the locals and the other tourists from all over the world and spend time with them. The relationships that you build there have a deep effect on your gameplay. So they unlock parts of your skill tree, or they give you key items, or they give you vital information that you need to complete a dungeon or deal with a particularly nasty boss. That's the basic concept.
Yeah.
So action RPG meets social sim.
Yeah, I think this is really, really very much shut up and take my money. Like when I saw the first screenshots, this is a very unique art style, right?
Yeah, we art style is something important to us, and we with the project try to find a unique style that is not so common in games. Kind of cel shading with outlines, but our inspiration comes more from graphic novels or, for example, animated movies like Into the Spider-Verse and stuff like that. So it's very graphic. It works with bold colors. We have some effects like screen tones and half tones that you know from comics. So we're going for a very not at all childish, but very graphic and kind of grown up graphic art look. Yeah, and the rendering is mostly custom written by Philip. So we are doing our own render pipeline and our own look.
Cool. I mean, I have to ask now. I mean, I know you founded very recently, and you're working on your first game as part of the studio together. But still, I'm super interested. Like, what are the future goals? What does the future vision look like for your studio?
Regina already touched on it. We want to stick to making, highly curated indie experience, multiplayer, no roguelikes, no random procedural generated worlds, really curated experiences. That's what we're most interested in. We want to remain a relatively small and nimble unit. We want to become at most, let's say, 7-8 people, something like that. We don't want to grow into a huge studio. We want to keep working on games that we like. We want to be able to do smaller projects. But yeah, we're definitely looking to grow next year. And then if Dungeons of Hinterberg is a success, grow the studio to something that's not tiny anymore, but certainly not a big studio.
I mean, both of you're coming from some interesting, diverse backgrounds and have different experiences in the game dev scenes. Are there any specific advices you would give young developers, people trying to get into the industry, or eventually even like founding their own studios?
You want to start? Or?
I can start. Whether you want to found your own studio or want to, seek employment elsewhere, I think the most important thing you should start doing right now is networking. Go to the various industry events, participate in game jams. Just get out there, even if it's not something that you'd like to do, even if it feels uncomfortable. Do it anyway. If you want to start your own studio or work on your own indie game, I think my key advice would be scope small. Don't be overly ambitious. I know that's coming from two people who are working on a Zelda-like, but we've done this for a while. Start small, and second piece of advice is enjoy the ride, even the parts that really suck and even the parts that are really annoying. You don't get to work on something that you don't get to work on something of your own that often in life. So try and take in the fact that you're doing something cool. If you're seeking employment, I don't know.
I agree. I guess if you're seeking employment or if you just want to start out in the game, either way, in my experience, it's always great to work on any game, and experience is something that really counts. Like, even if you work on a genre that is not what you usually play, or if it has a story that you usually don't enjoy, I learned so much from just the diversity of projects I work on. And now that I'm doing my own, or also before, I always noticed when I'm touching on experience that I already had from another project. So just go out and contribute and work at whatever company you find a job, even if it's not where you want to be in 10 years. Yeah, any project experience is good experience. And when it comes to art, every practice is good practice. Art is game art, and art in general, you just be researching or thinking about it. So just produce stuff, even if it's for yourself or unfinished or just a 3D model, not for a complete game. Yeah, just put in the work and you will learn.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think this is really, really important and useful, what you just pointed out. The last question is a little bit of a weird one, challenging one, but it was also a weird and challenging year. So I would be really interested, like, how did you cope with that year? What did change for you? Also, is there any specific thing or things you've learned for the future? And what are you looking forward to when things are a little bit more normal again?
Yeah, it's a bit hard actually for us to divide what changed because of the situation this year and what changed just because we started working on something very different. So it's kind of mingled for us. Luckily, we work from home. We have a flat that is big enough to have rooms that you can use as an office, basically. So as it's just the two of us right now, we were able to deal with the current situation better than other people. I think we were quite lucky in that. Of course, as you just pointed out, go to network events. It's not so easy this year. So this is, I think, something we are really looking forward when that comes back and you can meet all the people again in real life. And yeah, but I guess what we also learned, maybe also for the future, is that a lot of calls with other people from the industry, with potential partners, with whatever, nowadays so much can be done online, and there's really no reason to stop just because someone is not close. You can still ask and still meet. And
to a degree, I would go so far and say that the situation has even been somewhat beneficial in the sense that we did not need to buy an expensive GDC or an expensive Gamescom trip to get to know different publishers or potential partners for our game, because everybody is just doing this online, and that's a lot cheaper, and the barrier of entry is much lower, I would say. So in that respect, I think it was the situation wasn't even detrimental to us personally as a small studio. Yeah, otherwise I would say it was, we were lucky enough and privileged enough that it was a pretty regular year for us since we were working from home anyway. And obviously the whole lockdown situation was not pleasant and we felt that quite a lot, but I think work-wise, we wouldn't have worked that much different if things had gone differently.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that. It has been a pleasure, and again, this is such an exciting project. I'm looking forward to see every single tweet.
The pleasure was all ours, really.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that.
Thank you so much. Good night. Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Ciao.